Been talking about swing states all night. We have been talking about Georgia specifically in recent times, and we are now in a position to project Georgia projected there as a win for Donald Trump. This is huge. This is the second swing state now that has been projected as a win for Donald Trump. We mentioned North Carolina a little earlier. This is Georgia, and it's 16 electoral votes. Very, very intense contest fought in that state between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. Spending a lot of time there, both candidates, and we can see now it's projected as a win for Donald Trump. Let's see what impact that has on the race for 270. A major win for Donald Trump at this point in time. Now, we've been saying 270 is the magic number to get to. Donald Trump is on 246, just 24 electoral votes away from that magic number of 270, down into the White House, sitting behind the resolute desk in the Oval Office. Kamala Harris on 182. Still 5 of those swing states still outstanding. The race far from over, but it is getting more difficult for Kamala Harris now and easier for Donald Trump, with North Carolina and Georgia now on his tally. You can see there that it is big news at this hour. We've been talking about how tight this race was. The polls have had it so tight for so long, and we knew it would come very closely. We're two states declared now, 5 still to go projected. Let's chat to our panel here and see what they make of that. Cathy, 2 states stand for Donald Trump now of these 7 battleground states that we've been focused so hard on. Big win for him, isn't it?
If you're in the Trump campaign, you'd rather be Donald Trump tonight than you would be Kamala Harris at this stage of the evening, certainly. But him winning, if he was going to win any of these early battleground states, I guess that from the Harris point of view, losing North Carolina and then losing Georgia was better for them than losing Pennsylvania. But that's not a huge amount of consolation. It does mean that Kamala Harris, as we've been saying, has to win Pennsylvania, she has to win Michigan, and she has to win Wisconsin. She has absolutely no wiggle room anymore. And those states are looking extremely close at this stage in the evening.
And we should say she's flipped
in the morning, I think we are now, right?
Yeah,
yes.
Who knows?
We're now
it's morning somewhere, it's nighttime somewhere else. And of course, we should say Joe Biden won this 4 years ago, and Donald Trump 4 years before that. Yes. So it is swingy.
So it's the one that they have taken from the Democrats.
That's exactly it. It's again. Stephanie, what's your reaction?
Well, you know, I think it is a tough night, but we just have to wait until we count all the votes and see what happens with the blue wall. There's still the path. That was always the path that the Harris campaign had leaned into. And I think there was a letter that was put out by Jen O'Malley Dillon that basically reminded all of the supporters that, hey, we always knew this was going to be a close race. We always knew that the blue wall was our best path. And here we are, you know, waiting to see what those numbers look like.
Well, certainly that's the case. I mean, Rodney, looking at from your perspective for the Republicans, I mean, this is just a huge moment of the evening for Donald Trump, the Republicans. We knew Georgia was looking like it was going to go for him, but at this point, it puts him in a really good position.
Oh, it certainly does. I mean, he needed Georgia and North Carolina.
Yeah.
I mean, as we discussed earlier, he and his team were very confident that that was going to work out that way. But it's pretty telling they're just as confident that some of these other states are going to work out in their favor, too. It is trending, and you look at some of the House races in Pennsylvania that are almost called. Right now, you've got Congressman Matt Cartwright and Congresswoman Susan Wild in very precarious positions with over 98% of the vote in, and they're down. That says something. Now, Republicans are losing races in the House, too. The House is where Democrats are going to have to move their focus, because the Senate's gone. I mean, we're talking right now, if Donald Trump sweeps the blue wall, you could have 54, maximum 55 Republican senators. Right now, you're guaranteed probably 53.
And, Cathy, you know, if you look at Georgia, the numbers have been coming in also pretty fast. I mean, that's something that we were discussing in advance. How quickly would this vote be counted? I mean, that indicates it's clearly not as close as we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers have been coming in fast, and you look at the margins, they're just much bigger than they were in 2020. In 2020, we were, deliberating over famously over some 11,000 votes in Georgia. This time around, we haven't got the final numbers in, but it looks like it's over 100,000 vote, right? The difference is 150,000 difference between
massive
Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. That's a much bigger advantage for him.
Well, let's go straight to Georgia now and to our correspondent, John Sudworth. John, what was the reaction there with the projection of Georgia for Donald Trump?
Well, people in this room are convinced they have won this state. As you were saying, there is a margin of 150,000 votes or so, just 5% of the total left to count. They've moved through very quickly, as they said they would. They've slowed down for those last few votes. We're not sure why. County by county, there may be different reasons. Maybe some of the ballots are being checked. But people here are convinced that Georgia has gone for Donald Trump. And if they're right, of course, it is another key milestone on his route to the White House, planned, as it always was, through these key southern swing states. You can hear another cheer going up behind me. That's the chairman of the Republican Party, who I know you spoke to earlier, addressing the crowd here. People really feel this night is going their way.
We're going to listen into Harris HQ now.
Here tomorrow to address not only the HU family, not only to address her supporters, but to address the nation. So thank you. We believe in you. May God bless you. May God keep you. And go HU and go Harris. Thank you all.
Okay, some big news there at Howard University, the announcement that Kamala Harris will be there tomorrow to address supporters and to address the nation. So she does not intend going there tonight. I mean, that's in line with what we've heard from her campaign. You can see people already immediately leaving, but I guess you can't blame them. It's 1:45 in the morning, and if they're told the vice president's not coming, there's no real point hanging around there at this point.
She is going to need very big dumps of votes from those blue counties of Pennsylvania and Michigan and Wisconsin to shore up the blue wall. And if she doesn't get very big numbers...
And Katie, I mean, look at this. You're seeing these big crowds of people leaving Harris headquarters. I mean, again, she is not going to be speaking. You understand why they're leaving, but this is a bit of a symbol here for the state of the race right now.
Right. Well, the fact that she's not speaking tonight is a symbol of the state of the race,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
I mean,
they're told to go home, so.
It looks like, Donald Trump may go to his headquarters down in Florida and say something, we don't know what, but Kamala Harris is not actually going to talk at all. Now, they must have known this was a possibility, because we've all known it was a possibility that we didn't have a final result on overnight tonight. I guess they just hoped that there was better news for her to be able to talk about.
You can see there, I mean, there was a huge crowd at Howard University. It's all lit up. We were seeing the singing and dancing and the DJing and everything. A lot of young people in the crowd there, but again, that's to be expected. It's a university, a lot of students living nearby, and they're all heading home. We're not seeing the singing and dancing that we were seeing earlier, but I guess being told that their candidate is not going to be there tomorrow, as you say, Catty, is a sign of itself. And we saw that email come from the campaign chair, Jen O'Malley Dillon, probably 2 hours ago now, sort of saying, it's going to be tomorrow, stand tight, this is what we expected. We knew it would be a long, slow slog.
I just don't think this is what they expected.
No.
They may be putting that out in emails, but there is no way they expected her to underperform in almost every demographic group apart from young women compared to Joe Biden in 2020.